Hi guys, I hope everyone can hear me. If you can't hear me, please indicate in the comment section that you can hear me. Or if you can, still indicate in the comment section that you can hear me. Uh, yeah, so it's been a beautiful week. I mean, it's just third day of the week, and it's been good. Well, it's been cold for me. As you can see, I'm all kitted up right now. There's like a lot of cold, and I'm still in my workplace right now. Yeah, but and I mean, I have to deliver. So yeah, I'm sorry for missing Thursday's class. A lot happened and I could not meet up, and I was not able to send a message. So today's class is going to be a long one. It should be over an hour plus, probably 2 hours, right? And I'll be taking you a complete recap from the GitHub, like where I stopped, continue from where I stopped. Then also I would introduce HTML to you, right? And also you can also check the the blog. There's an article already there on HTML and CSS. So for those who are following the articles, you can just go there. Sorry, for HTML only to an extent, right? So for those who are following the article, you can go there and you can follow up, right? But for those who like video content, I'm going to do a recap, a continue from the last class, and then I would uh I would start the HTML class today. So also I mean if you're watching, right, and you want your friend to also join the class, just tell them they can still join. We've not gone far. As you can see, we've only finished the first month. And what we did on the first month is Git and GitHub. So on they can still watch the previous videos and catch up, or go to the what do I call it? The blog and read through the articles is now organized, right? And by the end of this class, you'll be having two assignments, and one of the assignments you submit the two assignments on the forum, your GitHub repository link, and when you're submitting the assignments, you're only expected to submit under the forum and under where it is uh advisable, as in not advisable, expected is the word. Like for example, if one of the assignments is going to be on GitHub, right? So when you get to the forum, go under Git and GitHub, then you see a sub forum called assignment 2, submitting assignment 2 for the Git and GitHub, for the Git assignment. Then for the HTML assignment, under the HTML topic category, you'll see a subcategory called assignment 1 under HTML category. Submit your assignment there. Alright, so that I can it will be easier for me to give you and also make correction if there's need be. Obviously I won't be able to review everybody's own, but I and my team will try to check through everything. All right, and still it's still open. You can invite your friends, and if you have not followed, please follow. If you've not liked, please like. Uh, due to popular uh, notation, all right, I won't be making the class private, so it's going to be public. And so the only thing I just want you to do, guys, is just going to support me, just like the videos, share to your friends, and follow, right? And if you're not following me on LinkedIn yet, you should follow me on LinkedIn. I do post good content that's going to help your tech career on LinkedIn, right? So always go there. And if you're not yet on LinkedIn, please always have a LinkedIn account. Before the end of this course, we're going to have a class on career development by Len Ali, and Len Ali is going to train us on career development, right? And you see the importance of why you need to structure your CV, have some things like using LinkedIn and GitHub, right? I've told you about GitHub, but LinkedIn is professional. It's professional. Right, GitHub is the technical CV. LinkedIn is your professional CV. Right, before you even talk about your physical, LinkedIn is your social CV. Then you talk about your professional CV. Right, those are the three. Those three are important for you in getting a job. So if you don't have a LinkedIn account, go and get a LinkedIn account. Start start getting followers. Start following people. Start creating connections. Start making friends. Talking to people. Involving conversations via hashtags. Right, they're really important, and when you do those things, it should help you in growing, right? And also, yeah. So also, I'm going to talk about the back end classes. So I see some comments on like why did I have to change the roadmap and all for the class, So same way you are complaining that you wanted Java is the same way some people were complaining that is it possible to make the class Python and the rest. And I looked at it, I was like, I was going to do a second cohort, but then I look at it, my schedule is quite cumbersome right now, and after I finish the first cohort, the possibility of a second cohort is not sure. Right? Even if there's going to be a second cohort, it's not going to be a cohort where I'll be teaching again. I'll just be supervising. So I was not sure if I was going to continue. So I had to make it open now for the back end, right? And say, okay, since I'm not sure I'm going to do second cohorts, right? Rather than having people who are flowing through the Java class or the first cohort, hoping for a second cohort to learn something, I was like, okay, let me throw it open. And obviously, as you can see, right? The more people who wants to learn Python, actually more than people who wants to learn Java, right? So give obvious facts. I would show you to give you a bit of obvious facts. I will show you on the screen right now to just make you understand that it's not even my fault. Like people actually want to learn. People actually want to learn Python compared to Java, right? And for those who are annoyed about this, right? Yeah, I understand you. Java is there are no junior roles for Python, right? For Python devs. Not like they're not junior roles, you hardly see, right? Because most of the web technologies that they have in Africa are mostly Java based, right? Especially fintech and the rest. But um, if you read through if you read through the application, I said that I'm looking at building people who can create disruptive technologies. Yeah, if you're going to involve in AI, data science, to be able to be versatile in different fields and go out to the Western world, yeah, Python is actually a really good language. It's beginner friendly. Yeah, Java is more complicated, which is good, and security conscious and everything. That's what makes Java a strong language. Java is a stronger language than Python. I would deny that, but Python is a more versatile language than Java. Right, Python can you can as a Python dev you can go into different fields, robotics, AI, machine learning and AI, yeah, web development, mobile development, things like that. And because of the versatility of Python and the fact that yes, for now, you know, people are not going to use Python yet, but given to the next 5 years, you're going to appreciate the fact that you learned Python today, right? And the things you'll be able to do with Python in the future, right? Automations and all. So yeah. And if I'm going to take Python, right, I won't just teach you web development with Python. I'll probably teach you some things in implementation of AI properties, like using OpenCV. I'm definitely going to teach that, how to use OpenCV. We're going to be project with OpenCV. Might do some things on automations, yeah. And I might do some things on automations then before we move into Django, right? And it's still going to be the same project based. I would have to withdraw the roadmap for everyone, and so you can see it. So I'll just show you the voting results. So this is the This is it. And if I click here, so if I click here, so you see we have total of 41 votes. It's really poor. I was expecting to have like 300 votes plus. But after 41 votes, not bad. And you see, it was really close though. But yeah, you see, more of the Python guys wants. So I hope you understand why I chose to make it like that, why I chose to throw up the options. Yeah. So it's not about being professional, it's about um people I'm teaching. This class is for some people, it's for people, it's for you guys. So I have to make sure I'm delivering people, not just doing things according to my own accord. Yeah, I have to hear from the host, from you guys, and have you guys decide. Right. So I'm going to end the poll now, and no, so So I've ended the poll, and yeah. So guys, so today we would go deep into that and into Git and GitHub. So now I won't be doing a recap again from the big first thing I said, so I won't waste time. So I'll just dive right in, right? So now I'll just do this now so you understand. Oh, sorry. So uh, this here is the blog, right? I already have a content on HTML, introduction to HTML and CSS. Actually, it's supposed to be just introduction to HTML. That's a mistake. And here already is the content on that. So if you feel you want to go ahead of us, you can just go through the content there. But this is there's still going to be a part two for this content, yeah. Then all contents now are organized. So if you come to Bootcamp, if you go to Git and GitHub, you see all the contents that concerns Git and GitHub, right? From setting up and Git fundamentals to the deep integration into Git, into Linux, command line, Linux and Git, the Git basics and command, right? That's the foundation course. Then understanding text editors, right? Then the basic operations in Git, the practical assignments, then Git workflow, branches, merging, forks, pull requests, then advanced Git concepts. So this is the full complete flow, right? And you can check the dates to know how to go through it. So anyone who is just going through our course for the first time, you should be able to, from these navigations, you should be able to understand the whole content. Yeah. And now, so yeah, so that is where we are right now. And uh, if you would allow me, while we move into the next phase of our class. So now I'll just go to GitHub, right? I've explained the interface to you before, so that's explained again. Now, so today's class, I'm going to be teaching you on what it means when you're working on a repo that you don't have an access to. When you're working on a repository you don't have an access to, how do you work on that repository? And when you're working on a repository you have an access to, how do you work on that same repository too? Right? So I'll teach you on both of those things today. And I think you already know how to work on when you have a repository you have an access to, it's like your own repository. Since you have access to that repository, it's as though you're already the owner of the repository. You understand? So you can push and pull from that repository without requesting for access. Right? And uh, let's say, for example, if you start working for a company and you're in that company, so the company gives you access to the repository, so you can you can pull and push from that repository without questioning, right? So that's the different thing. But when you're working on a repository you don't have an access to, you can't push from the repository, and you can't pull from the repository, right? You need to. There's a way you have to go about it, and Examples like this is when you have an open source project, right? That is on Git or GitHub, right? That's on GitHub rather. You can't pull from the open source project because the owners of the project don't know you, right? And you're not their staff, but you want to contribute to that project. So there's a way you go about things like that. So that's what we're going to cover today. That's one of the things we'll cover today, and how you push, then the conventions, like how the methods on how you do things, right? You don't just how you what branching techniques, what's your why do you have to branch first before making your push request or pull request. So that's what we're going to be treating today. So buckle up and get ready for the classes. So we'll just take 2 minutes break while we're on that. All right. Okay, and we are back. We are back. So uh, I hope you're all still here. It's 22 minutes gone, and we're back to the class. So now let's begin. So I'll just do some things first. Now, uh, okay. So I believe you can all see my screen. I will just do some things now. So uh, um, I'm trying to look for. Okay, I think I'll just look for. Ah, snipes. That was a mistake. Okay, top. Uh, I'm trying to find someone that I can see easily. Uh, this is what I'm looking for. So this is what I'm looking for. So this is the repository of a friend, Victor. You should know him. He's the one that writes some of the content you see on the article. On this one of the articles you see on the blog. So this is his repository, yeah. And let's say he has a project I want to work on. I don't have access to his repository as you can see. I don't have access to it, but I'm not part of an organization that we're working together or something. Let's say, for example, this repository he called Please, right? And or maybe another one. Uh, yeah. Let's say this repository called Please, right? Oh, no, I don't think I want that one. Sorry. Shit. So let's go to all these repositories and let me see the one I can pick from. Uh, okay. Let's see. Tic-tac-toe game. He doesn't have a readme here, right? So there's no readme here. For this project now, right? He doesn't have a readme for this project. So I want to create a readme for him. And on creating a readme for him, right? Would I would push and do a pull request so he can have this readme on his platform. Yeah. So we're going to use this as an example, for example. So Duzier's current repository, which is tic-tac-toe, does not have a readme. And now I want to create a readme for him and do a pull request. So normally, if this was my project, if I had access to this project, like I was part of his team or the team, or part of added as a collaborator to this repository, right? I don't have to. It's going to be easy for me. I will just clone. Then after I clone, I'll just push, right? Then when I push, he's just going to have access to. He's just going to have access. I'll just merge, or probably I don't want it to merge. So if it's the same branch, I just merge. But if it's not the same branch, then I have to just create a pull request. But because I'm not part of this project, right? All I have to then do now is first thing I have to do is I have to then fork this repository, right? So after I fork the repository, forking the repository now is having a duplicate of that repository on my own system, right? And because I have a duplicate of the repository on my own system now, I can now say what? I can now pull. Then now I'll be interacting with the duplicates, right? Then for my duplicate, I'll be making a pull request to his own duplicate, to the original repository. It's quite confusing here. Don't worry, we'll go through all of that and I'll explain it while I'm working. Right. So the first thing first we have to do now is fork this repository. So I'll come here. I hope you saw what I did. So let me go back again in case you didn't see. So you see this here. So you have to fork the repository. So if I fork the repository, you see what happens. So it tells me now I want to move this repository to my own account, right? Right now it's on Vector's account. It's still going to be a Vector's account. I'm just duplicating it to my own account. So it's asking me, do you really want to duplicate this? I'm like, yes, I want to duplicate this. So you see this is letters, tic-tac-toe, this is description and everything, right? So it's like where do you want to copy and like copy the main branch only, or you can copy all branch if you want. You can untick this and you copy all branch, right? But if it's only the main branch you need, just click on copy main branch only. So I create the fork, right? So once I've done that, now it tells you forked from this person, and so now you see here it says forked from vector, right? And here you see that there's my account now that has this repository, right? But now I can now make push and pull to this one, right? But if I had not forked, I wouldn't have access to do a pull or push to vectors repository. So now it's now on my own now. So I work on this one. Then from here I do a pull request to here. Do you understand? So first I have to now to start working. It's still going to be clearer. So to start working, so you can always come here and I'll show you two things here. So to start working, just make sure that this branch, right? The branch here is in sync with the branch you're forking from, right? I'll tell you why later. So if it's not, you can always click on update branch. Then when you update branch, you can then pull. I'll tell you why later, why it's important, and you can also do it with your code if you want to, but I prefer doing it like this, right? So first thing I have to do that is what we want to do on this project now is we want to create a README for vectors project, which is the tic-tac-toe project, right? And to create the README, it will be visible here. But so once you create the README for vectors project, that's what I want to do in this tutorial. Yeah. So to go about it, I would come here and I would clone his project, right? So uh, let me open terminal and git clone. Sorry. So git clone, then this. If you're not using SSH yet, please do. I think GitHub is going to, they're trying finding better means to secure repositories. So they might depreciate HTTPS entry really soon. So now I've cloned this project and I didn't know where I cloned it, so that's another problem. So let me just do this. So I cloned it to this place, right? I cloned it to this place, which is bad. So I could just move this to a new directory, right? Rather than yeah, I could just so yeah, sorry, I was having a little bit cough. So I could just move this folder to the directory I want it to go, right? Rather than have it here, or I could still open it from here, depending on the case maybe. But I wouldn't like to stress myself, so I'll just go here, right click downloads. Inside them is a melody. This is the folder. Copy it. We could have done it with Linux, but I don't think I have the strength for that. So yeah, Command C. I want it to be in desktop, so I'll paste it here. And yeah, so I have it in desktop, right? So if I do cd desktop, right? And ls. So I'll see tic-tac-toe here. So if I do cd tic-tac-toe, and I open. So now I'm in tic-tac-toe. So I can still do this. Ah, my code command doesn't work yet. I don't know why. So I'll just go to VS Code here. I'll create a new window. I'll create a new window and I'll open a new folder, right? And what am I looking for? I'm looking for desktop, tic-tac-toe. That's the file I cloned, and it's here, right? So now here are two important things you have to know. When you clone a project for the first time, right, there are different branching techniques. I don't know if it's documented, but I mean, I got to find out based on the project I've worked with different companies here. I've seen companies who use feature-based branching technique. I've seen companies who use developer-based branching technique. For example, in VS Code, this is where you see the list of your branches, right? So you see this branch is the main branch. This is the head branch normally, and this is the main branch from your origin. Origin is your remote repository, uh, which is my repository, right? Then this main branch now is the local branch now that was created, right? This is the local branch created by Git by VS Code, yeah. So now if I'll just quickly explain the I'll explain the developers branching technique. Let's say we have like four developers in the project, Melody, um, Tunde, uh, Onyeka, and Musa, right? So let's say the four of us are working on a project together, right? And the project is ongoing and we're supposed to make commits, right? So four of us will create branches, right? We'll create a branch on the main repository, right? Sorry, on the company's repository, Melody's branch, Oyeka's branch, Tunde's branch, and Musa's branch. Those are the four branches here. So I'm going to see the whole four branches here. So whenever I want to work, I will switch to my branch, right, which is Melody's branch. And when I'm done with what I want to do, I'll push to my branch and I'll do a PR from my branch to the main or the development branch. You understand? So that is developers based branch. So if you're going to see the works that has been done by Melody, it's going to be from Melody's developers branch, and that branch is going to be open until Melody leaves the company uh, or the project ends, right? That branch is going to be available. But now there's feature based branching technique. So feature branching technique is you only open a branch when you're working on a specific feature. Right. And when you're done we've opened the branch and you're done working on the feature, the next thing is just do a pull request to the original branch, which is development branch, and after doing the pull request, delete the branch that after that if it has been tested and accepted, right, then delete the branch. You understand? That's feature based branch, and that's the best branching technique. In fact, that's the most used branching technique and the best to use. Don't use don't use the I mean, some companies use development technique, but feature based is the best to use. So if I would advise anyone, I would tell them use the feature based branch. All right. So moving ahead, um, now if you if you are going to work on on this repository now, right? I'm going to use the feature branching technique here. So I have to create a new branch. So the first thing you have to do is create a new branch. You can do this from your terminal on. So create a new terminal. Uh, yeah. So create a new branch, git checkout hyphen b, then the branch name you're creating. So I'll say the feature I'm about to do now is adding a readme, right? So I'll just call it readme. So now I've created a new branch and the new branch has been added for me here, as you can see. So I've created a new branch called readme. So now the readme branch is still going to be have everything that's in the main branch, yeah. And the other thing is that if I'm going to push, I have to push to readme. And when I push to readme, I can easily pull request from readme. So now I've created a new branch called readme, and now I'm on the branch readme. So I want to work on the readme feature. And when I'm done with the readme feature, I can then push. I can then push to my own repository, right? So now the first thing I have to do is I want to create a readme file. So I'll call it read this readme dot md. Is that it? Yeah, I think. Sorry. I keep mixing this thing up for no reasons. I don't know why. Yeah, so it does pick up its letter instead. Well, who cares? So yeah, now I want to add so I know I said I was going to give you a class on nice, sorry. A class on writing readmes, but that will be a later thing. So now I just want to add two things. So move ahead. I just want to say this so sorry. So I've created the readme.md file, right? So now I just want to add two things and say make it a bit bolder so you can see. Yeah, I think this is good. So this is a header. When you use hash, you're about to create a header. When you use two hash, it's like hash is h1, so that's h2, h3, But yeah, this is description, or I can just call it tick tack two game, right? I can say the game was built with JavaScript by vector where the game is a representation of the exact is the digital representation of the exact tick hyphen tag hyphen tool game. So I think this is enough. If I want to say a list, list one, list two, two, one. Let's say I want to show a code. I can just say this is a code, right? Depending on what you want to do. So if I put a space here, you can say header. I mean, there are lots of things you can do with README. So I think maybe there's an extension for README. Yeah, let me see. Because GitHub gives us with like different extensions. So let me see. So this says Visual Studio has different extensions. Yeah, so sometimes if I want to work with a new um language or something, I first like this try to get the extension of the language first on Visual Studio Code. So because it helps a lot, with corrections and some things to know if you're doing the right thing. So you said VSL extension to create, customize, and save your readme without having to leave your project's workspace. Not basically what I'm looking for. README extension. I need something that's going to create suggestions for me in README. But we can all look for something here. But I don't think I doubt I'm gonna see. But I doubt there's anything here. But yeah. So I have made changes. VS Code notices that I've made changes, right? And it tells me here that hey, you've made changes to this file from being nothing to doing something. Means I have to now do something, right? I have to now do a I have to add that project. So if I do git status, it shows me that hey, you created the file and this file is not being tracked. So if I do git add all, right, then if I do git status again, post else mistake. Command C, Control C, yeah, that's weird. Okay, so let's go again. Git status. So now it says green now means the file is currently being tracked. So now I have to stage it, right? Sorry, it's currently being staged, right? Now I have to commit it. So git commit hyphen m and make changes to readme, right? And now you see it says uh, I've worked on it, right? So I can now it tells me to publish my batch. I can do this from here, but I like to work with my terminal. So I'm just going to do git push. So now I'm ready to push, right? So before you push anything, since you're going to be working with a lot of people in a particular project, right? You're collaborating with people. One thing you should note is that because you're collaborating with a lot of people, right? Only way Git manages this progression is when it has the recent activities of at every point in time that you're pushing or you're doing something, right? Like for example, this let's say Vector's repository now is an open repository and a lot of people are working on it and we are in the same organization. Because I have access to that repository, I can just do a git pull, right? And before I push, I can just do a git pull now, which I can just do here. It should tell me up to date. That's what it should tell me. As I said, sorry, I have to set a branch down to pull from. Git pull because I've not set a head branch, right? I've not set an upstream branch, so README doesn't know where it's going to pull from. That's why it's giving this error message. So if I do git pull origin main, it should tell me up to date. Oh, it should tell me. So it says already up to date. So unless this is telling you already up to date, please don't push because if you push, you're going to create a merge conflict on the server on the remote repository. Sorry. So it's always good to always pull first before because what is a merge conflict now? Merge conflict is basically if let's say we have three persons, Musa as I explained now. So Musa and I are working on a project, working at the same time based on our working hours. Yeah. So we're working on it at the same time, and Sunday has a different working hour, right? Then Sunday finishes his work, and he did not. Let's say Sunday finishes his work um 7 a.m. in the morning, right? But he did not push. He forgot to push, right? Then Musa finishes his work by let's say somewhat 11 a.m., right? That's after Tunde finishes his work. But now Musa now wants to push, right? So because Tunde finished before Musa, but Tunde did not push. Musa has finished his work now. Then Musa does a git pull, right, and receive the current update, and Musa pushes before Tunde. So even if Tunde's work is dependent on Musa's work, even if Musa's work depends on Tunde's work, or Tunde's work depends on Musa's work, anyone it may be, right? If Tunde now decides to push without pulling the current update that is on the repository, because now it means that what's his name? It means that Musa has made changes to the repository now, which Tunde does not have. So for Tunde to then push, even if he has finished his work before Musa, but for him to then push now, he has to do a git pull first before he pushes. Because if he pushes, it means that he's pushing without Musa's update, and that's going to cause a conflict on the GitHub repository. So for it to be on a seamless level, Tunde has to what, pull first, that's receive Musa's update, then push with Musa's update, right? That's why that's why they tell you every time, please pull first before you push, right? And that's the essence of pulling first before you push. So as you can see, I pulled, and now as I pulled, GitHub tells me that I'm already up to date with the branch I'm tracking, right? So now, if you're not working with someone's project, right? A project that you don't have access to, let's say an open source project that you don't have access to. As at the time you pull, you can't track. This one now is because I have access to my repository, or I have access to the company or something like that, right? Imagine you don't have access to the company, imagine you don't have access to the repository, and you want to pull, right? You can't pull directly from there. The only thing you can do is you can set your upstream to be that origin, that repository that you forked from. So you can set your upstream to be this guy. You can set your upstream to be this one, right? And you can then fetch updates from this person, from this one. That's one way. The easiest way to go about it, which I'll show you, is you can just go to your forked repository, which is this one, which is where's Victor's tic-tac-toe, which is this, right? And here, automatically it's going to tell you if you are one commit, if you are behind, if this branch that you have now, this is your main branch, if it's behind this one, right, it's going to tell you here. That's going to tell you to sync the fork so that it should update your branch, or you compare first then update, right? So once you update this here, that means your branch now has the current updates. Then you can then do a pull from your branch. You understand? So it means once I'm done working on Victor's project, now let's say someone has already made changes and Vector has done a pull, or has accepted the person's changes, right? It means they've made changes to this particular file, this particular repository on Victor's side. But on my own side now, there's no changes there. So I have to then adapt these changes first on my own side, on my own repository. So to adapt changes on my own repository, this is going to track it and tell me, hey, there's a change in Vector's repository. So accept that change. So I'll come here, sync repository, update my branch. So now update this branch, and I can then go back to my code, which is the cloned one, the one that I cloned, right? I can then go back there, which is this guy here that you see. I can then go back here and say git pull from main, which is the branch that has the recent updates. Git pull from that main, and it's going to have the recent updates here. So once I have the recent update now, I can then now say, hey, since I have the recent updates, I can now push, right? So if you want to push now, because it's the first time you're creating that branch, this readme branch, yeah. So you have to do git push, right? Origin readme. Put the name there, and now it creates a new branch called readme, and now the readme is set. This branch readme is set to track the remote branch readme. So if I come back to my repository, right? If I come back to my repository, so you see that a new branch was created. Sorry, not this one. Yeah, so if I come back to, yeah, so this is sorry. So this is my repository, right? Letters slash TikTok 2, sorry. So if I come here and so I'm in my repository now, right? So I should see the README, right? So now what's the difference now? So in this branch called main, that's the branch I started working with. It does not have the README. But the branch now that I worked on, right, which is this branch here, now has the README. So now this is why it's called feature based. So if it was if I was just working with if it's developers based, right, this branch will record my name, right? So I can then I've made an update. I can then do a pull request. So if I come to main, in some in future case, it's going to be development, then main development. You do your PR to development because development is the safe version. So main is the safe version of your project, and development is where you have the unsafe, where you're putting your stuff in and when they test from. So you always push to development. Have that in the back of your mind. Do not push to main. The day you push to main, they reduce your salary. So don't push to main. So yeah. So on the main branch tells you that it is that the README has a recent push, right? A new branch has a recent push, and you're behind that push. That's what it tells you. So it's going to tell you to create and pull request. But because I'm working on an open source project, right? If I was working on a project that I have access to, I'll just do this, create and compare pull request, and I'll make a pull request today. I'll just do this, and I'll make a pull request from, sorry, not here, from this repository, right? I'll make a pull request from, um, yeah, from README, which is the branch I just created, to main, which will be development in future when you start working, right? It's going to be development. So you make a pull request from README to development, and it tells you if it's able to match. If it's not able to match, it tells you there's a match conflict. And you know what causes match conflicts, right? Then it tells you, okay, this is what you're adding, and this was what was there before, you know. Then you can then create a pull request. But because I'm working on a project that I don't have access to, right? Which is this person's project. So I have to make a pull request to this person, right? So he can merge it to his own project. So this is if I have access to the project now, right? I can just do it like this. But if I don't have access to the project now, I have to make a pull request to this person's project. So now to do this, I'll go to my README branch, right? And it tells me, hey, you have a recent push, right? So do compare and do a pull request. So I come here to compare and do a pull request. Now I have to choose the repository. So because of my base repository is vectors repository, right? This one. So GitHub already knows this and it tells you, hey, so push to this guy's main, do a request to this guy's main from your README, right? And this is a repository. From this repository to this README, and I can then tell if I'm working on an open source project, I can then tell Victor that, hey Vector, I added a README for this project. Kindly review and accept my PR, right? PR is pull request in case you keep hearing the word PR. So now as I say this, I can then create a pull request. So now this has no conflict with his branch. So Vector now on Vector's repository. So this is Vector repository now. So when Vector comes to his repository and it comes to tic-tac-toe, right? Because it's a public repository, anyone who comes here, the person will say, ah, there's a pull request ongoing already, and it's from who? So this pull request is from letters, right? And what did he do? So you can inspect it. Ah, so this is what was the commit about? You can come here, you click on here to view, and you see what was changed to see how effective GitHub is, right? And I've made like this now. I have contributed to GitHub's to Vector's project, right? I contributed to this project. So now I'll show you a sample project, That's let's see a sample project that someone did, and you see all the so you see this has eight pull requests means six pull requests means six people contributed has contributed has an open request to be merged on the project, and you see this is what 57. So it means he has had over 57 pull requests because this is the latest one. It is 57. And so if you check and if I do a fork from this project and someone, so it means that however that this shows that it has had over 238 forks. Means about 238 persons have forked this repository, and yeah. So you see, it's these are the normal things you're going to see. So for your assignments that I'm going to give you, it's a very simple one, but it's going to make your hands dirty and get help you understand this more. You do it on your own. So if you go to my repository, say a beautiful picture of Kenshi. Here are Kenshi. So if you go to my repository and my GitHub account, you see a repository called Full Stack Development Bootcamp. So when you open it, right? So I already have an explanation of what the repository is, and also you have to uh you would have to fork this repository, right? After you fork the repository, then you have to uh clone the repository. So when you clone the repository, then you have to switch branch. So I gave you a detailed explanation on this, so it's easy for you to understand, right? So you see, this is it. So this is the assignment task, right? So first you have to once you fork the repository, then you clone. So when you clone, after you've cloned, then open the project folder, then switch branch. So switch to classes, right? So for instance, after you have switched to your class branch, I show you how to switch class, how to switch branch. So switch to the, don't be on the main branch, switch to a new branch, to the class branch first. Then now you then check out from the class branch, from the classes branch. So you then check out from the classes branch. So check out from the branch and call the new branch your name. All right, so here you see mine is Melody. Call the new one your name. So this doesn't mean you're using feature-based priority. I just say you should call it your name so that I'll be able to know who is doing the work. Right. Then now create a new file under this folder, under this Git and GitHub folder. All right, create a new file. On that file, input text inside. So so the text you're just going to put there, just put say, hey, my name is this, that, blah blah. I'm learning photo development. Uh, right. So say my name is Melody and I'm learning full stack development, right? And once you've done that, add, commit your files, git pull to confirm to get because people are going to do the assignment with you. So git pull to get the latest updates, then git push. So when git push, it's going to push uh to your own version of the repository, remember? Then now you have to then do a pull request from your version to my repository so I can see it here and accept. So that is all for Git and GitHub classes. So I'll just check the comment section. So if you have any questions, you can still drop your questions there. Please tell me this class has been ongoing since. Sorry, I need to confirm something. I need to confirm that the class that comment section has been ongoing since because okay. I just realized that the screen was not showing since, but I sincerely hope everyone was able to follow through. Okay, I believe with this, I have been able to take you through everything you need to know on Git and GitHub, fucking repository, and the rest. So, now we are going to move into HTML and CSS introduction, right? Um, yeah, so we're going to move into HTML and CSS introduction. I'm just going to take the part one of that course, and yeah, so I was it quickly part one. So in 30 minutes, I'll be brushing you up on what HTML is, using HTML, what's the importance of HTML, and the rest like that. So, let's just take a little rest, a little break before I go into that. Okay, guys, welcome back. So today, we're going to do a deep dive into HTML now. Um, so I'll just go back to this part of the screen. Yeah. So HTML. Now I'm going to do a quick explanation about HTML. So HTML is, I'll just create a introduction. Sorry, introduction .txt file. So I'll just get the introduction.txt file. So first you have to know is HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. right? Hypertext markup language. Hmm? It is the building block of the web. It's the building block of the web of any web pages, right? It's the standard for creating any web pages. There's no two ways about it. You can't build a website without HTML. You can't build a website without HTML. HTML is the basic building block of websites, right? So the HTML is like holds the architecture of your or let's say blueprints, yeah, blueprints of your website, right? So it's the lines and says, okay, this is where this one is going to be. This so every other thing on your website depends. It holds on the depends on the block built by HTML, right? So HTML is your building block of a website. So it is the building block of a website. Oh, sorry about that. Of your website. Another thing to know is that it describes the structure of a web page, like I said before, and it works with sites. I'm going to explain all those to you. And it's with HTML that tells the browser how to display content, right? If this content is going to be a header, there's going to be a footer. If what's it's that's where and it's also in HTML that you hold informations regarding the meta part of your website. That's the ones that is shown in indexes. It's HTML that holds those informations, right? So now I'm just going to show you a simple a simple HTML document. If you're using VS Code, you can just try these shortcuts now. So, and the file extension of HTML is stored in .html. HTML files are stored in .html, right? So, although when you get start using frameworks, you won't be using those things again. But the basic thing you should know is that HTML files are stored in .html, and the entry points of your of a web page is through its index. If your web page does not have an index, you have to then put the slash and the exact file name first, right? Like for example, let's say I call this. Okay, I'll explain that later. So now let's say this index.html and just try this and press enter. This creates a simple page for you. So we can then have an h1 here. So I'll have an h1 here, and I'll call it welcome to HTML classes, right? Then, hi, my name is Melody, and I am happy to be your tutor. Really good. So now, another thing you should do is you should install an extension called Live Server. It's really important to use it later. So you can go to extension, you can type Live Server, right? I already have mine installed, so it's not a problem for me. So I'll make it bigger. Yeah, so I already have mine installed, but if you go to this and then you search for life, so this lifestyle by Ritz with weekday. So install this. So this is going to help you like you don't have once you make any changes, it automatically updates, right? So you don't have to be changing your browser and be reloading again. So once you just make changes, it updates. So I'll show you an example here. So let's say I've made changes to I've created this. If I just come here and open with live server, right? Let me show you how it looks like. Sorry, it should have opened here, but so you see what I just wrote now. So this is it. So if I come here and I change to HTML class, it loads by itself. I don't have to click on reload, so automatically it updates. So now there's one thing I wanted to show you. So because if I just do this, normally it should work. All right, you see it's still open this page because it notices that there's an index.html file on this folder called HTML, right? But let's say I rename this to first, and I load that page again. It doesn't open. Why? Because there's no index.html file. Your index file is the entry point to is what your browser looks for first when it wants to open your website, right? And if it checks the folder and doesn't see the index file, it doesn't know what to open, right? So that's why you should always call your first file your main file, right? Index.html. So I'll call this index.html. So I want to just do a brush up. So you see now we have uh, our HTML file. Yeah. So if I load this guy again, it loads. So you see this is a huge text and this is a small text, right? So that is how HTML is. So you can then start working on your building blocks from here. So I'm just going to explain each of the tags you see here. So this is doc type. Doc type is the declaration that this document is an HTML5 document, right? So if I turn this to, and you can either have it like this or you can have it like this, anyhow you want to have it, depending on if you're putting the specifics, right? But doc type is what declares that this document you're seeing now is an HTML5 document, right? This says the language is English, right? This is really important for SEO's purposes and file arrangement, yeah? Then we have meta tags, right? So this is meta. This is what holds some meta information like for views, for your SEOs. You know, if you come to a place like this, let's say Google. So let's say searching for melody. Yeah, let's say I'm searching for melody. Yeah. So you see all these results you see here. This one that you see here first and this. So these are informations that are in the meta tags, right? And because it's in the meta tag, it can show here. So it's what search engines use to get access to your website. So the information they can use to get into your website is what they see on these parts. So it's always on the head. Then the linking to other platforms is also shown on the head, right? So the head contains meta informations about the website. Then there's what they call title. So title is what shows the title of your website. So if you can see it, um, if you come to this part of your website, you see this is documents. So that was is your title. So if I change it to my first web page, and I go back here, so you see what it shows? My first web page. Ah, that's fits. But yeah, you understand what I mean, yeah? So that's your title of your website, right? If you're gonna add a favicon, you add a favicon here, but we'll take all those later. Then you have the body tag. So your body tag holds the information now, right? Holds the document's body. So it's just feel like a file. Think like you're writing a letter, right? You have the header parts, which is where you're going to have information about your address and all those things. Then the body now is now the main content of your letter, right? Then you then have the pleasantries. So pleasantries is like your footer, right? Well, we'll touch all those later. So H1B is what they call what elements, right? These are elements, right? These are elements or tags, as you may call it, but these are elements, yeah. So the elements now there are different types of elements in HTML. There are lots of elements, and each element does different things. So you present each part of what you want to do on your website with elements, right? As you can see, I wanted a big text and I use H1. If I wanted a small text or just a paragraph, I use P. You know, different things, and for different things you can do depending on what you want to do on HTML with your elements. So this is a brief introduction. So by tomorrow, by Thursday class, we'll then start. I didn't realize that my system was having issues, network was having issues, but I'll just do a quick continuation, yeah. So if you go to the blog, right, and you come towards this place, bootcamp, HTML, and the first class introduction to HTML. So I'll just reduce this a little bit. So you see the vivid, more descriptive explanation of everything here, right? And you can go through it. Then some of the examples I just did now, you see them here. Then if you want to go ahead, you can probably try some of these things out. Try the heading tag, div tag, the header tag, paragraph, button, link. So let's try everything out here and you see how the results. The good thing about working with HTML is that when you're working, you're seeing the results. That's the good thing about web development. It's not like engineering, right? No, the good thing about tech is that when you're doing something, as you're doing it, you're seeing the result of what you're doing. And it's fun when you're practicing and you're seeing, rather than just learning theories and theories and theories and theories. Once you do something, you're seeing the practical aspect of it. That's why tech is nice. So just study the syntax, look at it really well, try some things, try to build a simple web page with it, you know, and uh, when you don't build a simple web page, then you can submit. So you push to GitHub. So basically, I want you to do simple thing. Go to your GitHub, create a new repository, call it HTML or learning HTML, right? Then on that repository, create a file called index.html. Inside the repository, create a file called index.html. Create a simple page. The simple page is it should have a heading that says what I want to buy next week or what I want for Christmas, right? Then she should have a description that says this is it. This list is about that talks about the list. Then you should have also the list of the things you want to buy and maybe a little prayer of how to achieve them or how you plan to get them. And once you're done with that, then push to GitHub. When you push to GitHub, get the repository link and post the repository link on the forum. There will be a subcategory called uh, assignments one on the HTML category. So post it on that place. So that will be the end of the class today. I think I'm having issues with my network. For it not to close again was the end for the class. I'll just try and see if I can go through. Well, I don't know why, but I'll see if I can go through the comment sections again. And well, if you're having any issues, please just go to the Telegram channel, right, and read through or go to the blog and read through the blog, right? So that will be all for today. Thank you very much for sticking with me on this class. Have a good one today.